We went to Medaba, which is right near where we're sitting. It's a site here in Jordan where they found a very old, 1,000-plus-year-old map. It's the oldest map of the Holy Land that they have found, and it's in a mosaic that was in a floor of a church. And in that map, it shows Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is marked in there. And as our guide was giving us the overview of the map and was pointing out the different sites, he said, well, now this is marked as Mount Sinai, but it's in the wrong place because it shows that it's in Arabia, and it should be on the other side over here in Egypt. And I said, that's not the wrong place. That's the right place. And he's like, no, the Mount Sinai is in Arabia.
Okay.
And so they have it, they didn't know how to make maps back then. And so they just got it in the wrong place. But it is situated directly south of where we are sitting and where Medaba, the church is.
I didn't know that was there.
I'll show you a picture of it.
I got to have that. I'll give you.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. So this is the thing that I love about Bob Cornuke, and I love reading his books. I love watching his movies, and I love traveling with him because he's always bringing something up that you never heard of before. And he's just got a mind that is maybe a little twisted, but
really gnarled. My wife says it's way twisted, bent.
But I highly recommend that you get his books and his documentaries. He and I made a documentary together about the shipwreck of Paul, and I think it's still available. Is it available on YouTube, on Amazon? Or
yeah, no, it's available through Base Institute.
Oh, through Base Institute.
BASC
so
Institute.
Tell us where people can find you and your information, and if they want to find out more, get your books and that sort of thing.
Okay, it's baseinstitute.org, just BASE Institute, INSTITUTE.org, and you can get everything there. And I'd love to come speak at your church, show all these videos. We travel around the country and do that. So it's a blessing for us to go out and do that. So love to come out and share. And do I have time enough to have one little snippet?
Yeah.
Okay. This is something that really hit home one day when I was just praying about this. Is that Moses was that old man. He was over 80 years old. He was having troubles with his wife. We know that the wife was upset at him. We know that his two sons, he had at least two sons. One was Gershom, which means I'm an alien in a foreign land, and the Bible says sons plural, so we know he had either one. He could have had 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But he's tending Jethro's flock.
Mm-hmm.
That's his father-in-law. And get this, he's over 80 years old. He was in the house of Pharaoh, yet he's tending Jethro's flock, his father-in-law. He doesn't even own his own flock. His sons are not helping him. His wife is upset at him. He's on the back side of the desert, which means he's furthest away from home, and he's tending these idiot, dumb, bleeding, dirty sheep. And he's probably looking like a street person with all that dust on him. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. That's the moment that God touched him and said, I want you to lead the people.
Yeah.
Go to Pharaoh and lead the people out of Egypt. Arguably the second most important person in all Scripture,
mm-hmm.
and yet he was at the lowest watermark of his life. And a lot of people think if you're in a hospital bed or you're hurting or you lost your job or your family split up, that God can no longer use you. But he used Moses at that moment. He stripped away all the bare wood, all the varnish down to the bare wood, and that's when God said, now I can use you. I've gotten rid of all this pride, all this arrogance, all this esteem, and I'm going to use you now. And God can use anybody in any situation.
There's your Sunday school lesson, folks. That's good. And one other thing about that is that Jethro lived in Midian, and if you go to Saudi Arabia today, the ancient Midian, you can visit Jethro's tomb there. So that we know that is where Moses was when he found the burning bush, and it was all right in that area. And so fascinating discoveries. I love I didn't love being in Saudi Arabia. That's not a fun place to travel, but that particular place was probably the most powerful place I have ever visited that's a biblical site. That you just look around and you go, this has got to be it. Now you can go to Jerusalem and you can visit the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the Garden Tomb, and things like that. And you can say, yeah, maybe Jesus was around here somewhere, but it's hard to say that that's the exact spot. You took us to Magdala in the Sea of Galilee up there and found the place where Jesus would have stood. That's one of the few places where you could pretty conclusively identify the spot that Jesus stood on in order to teach in the synagogue there. And that was pretty cool. But even that's right next to a hotel. It's kind of a developed site. When you go out to see Mount Sinai in Saudi Arabia, it doesn't feel like anything has changed since Bible times. There's camels everywhere. There's no civilization out there. You have to drive across the desert in four-wheel drive vehicles to get out there. And it is a fascinating experience. If you ever get a chance to go, I would recommend it, but don't expect to be comfortable, right? It's not
comfortable. I had the most uncomfortable moments of my life around that mountain. Hurt my back really bad.
Right, so give us a quick overview of the crazy adventure you had your first time out there, because I thought you were the reason they put the fence up.
No, they put the fence up. We never knew why they put the fence up, but the guards were there, and we found out later because archaeologists found all that gold. Oh. And the Bedouins were coming, pilfering the gold, and they were having to chase them off. And the archaeologists went in and checked, for instance, that golden, the 12-pillar altar, where they did a burnt offering there. They found ancient ash in there, everything fits totally with it. But anyway, as I was leaving the area with my friend Larry Williams, we got stopped and they thought we were spies. And we had satellite imagery and all this stuff, and they threw us in a cell, and they put guns to our head, and they said they're going to kill us. They're putting guns to our head. They're cocking their rifles, and they were going to kill us. And so what we did is Larry said, I think we're going to be an unmarked grave out here for all eternity. No one's going to ever find us. And so I said, well, Larry, we can't escape. They've got our keys, our passport, our shoes. They had us in a cell with no shoes, no keys, no passport. And we had a little white pickup truck outside that we had rented in Tabuk. And Larry just jumps up and says, he's a doctor, points to me and says, he's a doctor. And the head guard comes up and says, are you a doctor? And I nervously said yes. And he pointed.
Why did he say that? Just because he thought they wouldn't kill a doctor?
Because they wouldn't kill a doctor, and it was the only card we had left to play. I mean, we're kind of there. We're kind of not in a good situation.
Yeah.
And Larry's saying I'm a doctor, so I said okay, I went along with it because I didn't know where it was going to go, but I didn't think they'd kill a doctor because they've never seen a doctor. So he came up. The head guard had a sepia red eye. I put some Visine in it from my shave kit, and it turned white. I mean, that stuff's amazing. People at Visine, you get the best product in the world. It changed the eye white. And they're all going, blah, 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 blah. And then they got in line. They put all their rifles down, and it was like Seinfeld's soup Nazi thing where they got in line. All the villagers got in line. All the sheep got in line. Everyone wanted to see the doctor. There's never been a doctor. So I treated each guy. And then when I got down to the end,
what were you treating him with? Just whatever you had?
Well, I had Visine for the eye. Then one guy had a cut on his hand, and I put Ban Roll-On, which is gooey and wet. And he said
deodorant on it.
And then so finally at the end, they had 5 guards, and a doctor had donated sleeping pills. When you go in the desert, like they donate stuff for infection, diarrhea.
Yeah, because you're a long way from them.
Yeah, you're a long way from home, so they give you these little kit that's all this stuff. So I had all these sleeping pills, and they weren't that Ambien stuff. These are the old Seconal ones. So I gave him 5 pills and said, "Here, give each one to your friend." And he goes, "Okay." He knew what I was saying. He took all 5 and put it in his mouth. And then the other guy wanted, and the other guy wanted his 5. The other guy wanted his 5. I gave him all those pills. They went. They were out of sleep in 15 minutes. And we escaped. And so now Hollywood wants to make a movie on it. In fact, I'm working with them on a movie called Mountain of Fire.
Yeah, they wanted me to play Bob, but I'm way too sexy, so they wouldn't. Well, that's amazing, and I can't wait to see the movie. That's going to be really cool. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I appreciate working with you, as always. let's get together some more.
Anytime I'm with the great Chuck Holton, it's always a pleasure. So
All
thank
right.
you.
We'll see you.